Welcome to the Lean Lounge, a podcast brought to you by Lean Revisions. Please welcome your host, Jeff Gray.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lean Lounge. My name's Jeff Gray, your host here at the Lean Lounge, where we talk about everything under the Lean Operations umbrella. And today, I'd like to introduce my special guest here, Mr. Keith Norris from KPI Fire. Hello, my friend. How are you today?
Hi, Jeff. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, good. How's Utah?
Utah is awesome. It's springtime here. The weather's perfect. I'll probably try to get a chance to get out on my mountain bike and go for a little ride this afternoon if I'm lucky.
Nice. Well, it's a happy Friday, so awesome. So before we dive in and talk about everything under that Lean Operations umbrella and your background, just tell us a little bit of who you are. Let the audience know, your story, and tell them about yourself.
Yeah, you bet. So, Keith Norris. I'm the CEO at KPI Fire. We have a couple of software products that we have built over here. I have been in the software world for probably a little over 20 years now, and have worked in CRM software, worked with a number of different companies and products along that time. I live in Utah, as we mentioned. Got a wife, a couple of grown adult children, and as I said, like to ride my mountain bike in the afternoon. And probably for the last 10 years or so, I've become just very, I guess obsessed is probably a good way to describe my interest and passion in this continuous improvement discipline, which is where I spend most of my energies work, and is on KPI Fire and the podcast KPI Fireside, and a book called Firestarter. In the time that I have.
Awesome. I didn't know, is your book published? I didn't know you had written a book also. Are you in the middle?
Yeah. Got the book. It's
got it right there.
Published. Yep. Find it on Amazon.
Okay, good. And it's talking about business operations excellence and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, the book itself is kind of a culmination. So the book is Firestarter: How to Ignite Improvement.
Ooh,
and
very
it's
cool.
Basically a handbook written as more or less a how-to manual for building a continuous improvement program. And it just leverages a lot of the lessons over the last 10 years or so, working with a lot of companies, a lot of big and small, but talks primarily to like a larger company, how to stand up and how to sustain a continuous improvement program and initiative. Talks about some of the building blocks. It's doesn't necessarily go along with the software, but it's very much a complement to anybody looking to build a continuous improvement program.
Good.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Okay. I'll have to get a copy of that, my friend. I didn't know you'd written that. So very nice. It complements what we're going to talk about a little bit. So you are the CEO of KPI Fire. And so I have used your product and also had my clients use your product. And what I understand, your product helps people manage their continuous improvement projects. That's how we've used it. We've had you come in and teach people virtually, and done some really great things to help people on that continuum of continuous improvement. So I want to thank you for that. I probably, known you and your software like 10, 15 years now, or I don't know how long we've been known each other.
Yeah,
10 years
it's been
at
a while
least.
now. Yeah, it's been a while.
And we pop in and out depending on clients.
Yeah.
So some smaller ones I haven't had use it. They just don't need to, but the bigger ones I've had you come in, and it's great software. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came about that software and what's it been doing for folks in the continuous improvement world?
Yeah, so the software itself is, our tagline is business improvement software, strategy execution software, and we tend to work with larger organizations. Not that it doesn't apply to smaller ones, but it seems like larger organizations tend to have more of a need for it. The software is really pretty simple. It's the basic idea behind the software is an organization should have strategic goals, and we found that there's really 7 major strategic goals that almost every company has some version of these 7. For example, growth. Almost everybody has some ambition to grow revenue or grow, employees, grow headcount, grow, something like that. Growth. Improve profit, usually through cost reduction, that kind of thing. So there's 7 of these that we find most common. And that's one of the things that KPI Fire helps leaders do, is identify the strategically important goals. It also has, as the name KPI would indicate, an area to keep track of specific metrics. So there's a little model at play with KPI Fire. The tagline is align strategy, drive execution, engage people. So when you have a strategic goal, that's the what we want to accomplish. The metric is how we're going to measure it. And then it has project management. So projects are the work that we're going to do to close that gap. So anybody that is looking to execute some sort of important strategic priority, that wants to use a structured problem solving, a lot of times that takes the form of a DMAIC or a PDCA or an A3, anything with structured problem solving. KPI Fire fits really well with that. Most of our customers have a particular business improvement objective. A lot of times it's described as cost savings. So they might say, we want to, reduce costs by, a lot of times it starts out as like, we want to reduce costs by 3%, 10%, some percentage. And so, the first thing you got to do is turn that into a number. What does that mean in numbers, dollars, and assign that number out to the business unit. And a good goal oftentimes requires the engagement of the people to figure out how to solve that. And that's where the idea funnel and the projects come in, is because, and particularly in a large organization, if the leaders can do a good job of setting that strategic outcome that they want and putting a number behind it, and then a good improvement program that has all of the the good behavior patterns that have been trained in, and that sort of thing, they will develop ideas for improvement, and then those turn into projects. And a lot of organizations struggle with hitting their goals, the accountability to the metrics. And while this is applicable to anybody, we've found that the community of people that subscribe to the Lean, Six Sigma, the structured problem solving, they're the ones that tend to do the best with this sort of a discipline and a structure generally.
Right. Wow, you said a lot of good things in there. That exactly how we approach is, align all of these challenges, all of these bottlenecks, all of these constraints to dollars. When we do our gimbal walk, we go around and we have our calculator, we have our finance people, we have our leadership team walking around and really seeing and talking to folks and really understanding the pain. And then we go back and try to turn that pain into dollars, whatever that might be. And that's what helps you align to KPIs, align to the business strategic objectives, and prioritize all those things, because you're not going to fix them all at once, and so I love your approach.
That's probably a good point, Jeff. We at KPI Fire, we don't do things like the green belt training and the coaching and a lot of the consulting, and this is really a strategic choice for us. We stay in our lane of being the software tool to support a program like that. And we do love to work with, again, we tend to work with a lot of in-house CI departments of CI. We've worked with some consultants and channel partners. It's something that we're looking to do more of in the future. So, you're a good example of that, where I think that might have been how we even met, is a company was using KPI Fire, and then they were using you for doing some training and some coaching and, kind of managing some of that. And that's probably how we got to know each other. So I think there's definitely a good fit, and we're very friendly with folks that do the training and the coaching and consulting. I find that there's no shortage of opportunities for business improvement, and there's no shortage of need for people that can continue to train that. And even with AI, especially with AI, I think that the need to execute business improvement is only getting greater.
I appreciate that. I'll get to AI in a second, but I really like what you just said, is that you stay in your lane, which I thought was really cool and really awesome, because I brought you in to help me with some clients. We partnered together. They loved the experience and the collaboration. of how the two organizations work together to help that one organization.
Mhm.
And that was brilliant. And they're still using your software for projects. We transferred knowledge. We came in and taught the green belt and black belt and leadership stuff, layered that on top. So it was a great partnership. I really love that, how that worked. And you don't need to. You got, you like you just say, with AI and everything else, you probably have some challenges innovating or staying, at the top of your game. What are some of those kind of things that are coming down the pipe at you, if any?
Yeah, AI is very interesting. I think depending on the day, sometimes it's scary. In the software business, the word on the streets is like, oh, AI can recreate everything, and
No.
I think that in some sense, like that's kind of true. Like you can have AI kind of do stuff, but there's still a really important need for somebody to pull it all together. I mean, you can build pieces of any system. But having one that works really well coherently and puts it all together, that's where we tend to focus. We think a lot about how to incorporate and leverage AI. We're working with a lot of customers right now around having conversations about where they're going with AI, ways to incorporate AI into their CI programs. There's so much, silos of information is a problem that so many businesses have, right?
Yes.
AI makes some things easier, but it almost, it makes some of those problems of, what's the old saying with technologies, like don't automate waste, right? Like if you have a bad process and you automate it, you just end up with a lot more waste.
I tell people that every day. Don't layer on automation if you're not completely optimized. Yes, please.
Yeah,
you just automate. I've had clients who do that, and I've told them no, and 6 months later they come back, hey, we didn't do what you said, but can you come and fix this now? And I'm like, you just spent $250,000 on something I told you not to do. Now you want me to come back and you're gonna throw it away. And don't automate a bad system. Fix it, optimize it, then do that with those things.
I really enjoy working with folks involved in this discipline because, I think some people fall on different sides of things like belt training and whether you should pursue belts for the sake of belts. I'm probably I'm a fan of belt programs generally, but if somebody wants to put some custom special names on them inside their own company to brand them, great. I'm on board with, let's just say, having a structured problem solving process and having a way to teach, train, meld people into the way of doing things inside your organization. And KPI Fire is a tool that can help support that. It can get people on the same page. There's a couple of like terms that we use around implementations. One of them that we like to use is called parsing the KPIs, because
love that.
A lot of times, when people do like their strategic planning, they set their goals, they come with these big, long lists of goals. And there's a little exercise that we like to do called parsing the KPIs, where we kind of figure out which of those things are about confirming or aligning directional intent, which of those goals are actually metrics, they're just things that need to be measured, and then which of those goals are like things that need to be done, like gaps that need to be closed. Deliver, deploy, develop, like all of those things that are really just project work. So another one that comes to mind is this phrase that we call metric taxonomy. Perhaps you've been in a company where, 3 months into an engagement, you thought people were speaking the same language, but the number that one person used for first time right was based on a different calculation than somebody else, or the formula for cost of poor quality was different in 6 different plants, and that's why one looked better than the other.
I love that, cost of poor quality. Yes, and you said a lot of things there too. Is your MSA, measurement system analysis, your operational definitions, your cost of poor quality. All of those things need to be understood and challenged and tested with an MSA. Bad data and bad information in, bad decisions and outputs out. And that's your cost of poor quality. That's your failure. So I love that. All that upfront work that a lot of people don't want to do and define and stuff. I've got two clients right now where they're not big organizations. They make $10 million a year in gross revenue. So then they're growing, but now they're experiencing growing pains. And just last Monday, I was at one of them and we did that operational definition, defining the metrics. And when we started looking at all this, they were all saying this, just what you said. Well, that's not how I measure it. Well, that's not how I define it. And I'm like, well, no wonder. Look at all the problems you guys are having because no one's on the same page. So that's the beginning. How can you fix the output if you don't know what's going on at the beginning? So, yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, the phrase I like to use for that problem is metric taxonomy.
Yeah,
it's like the taxonomy, like a naming, organizing, categorization system for metrics. And then, because, depending on where a company's at, and again, so many of these problems, big companies, small companies, a lot of big companies are just like a whole bunch of messy small companies put together, like the problems, the problems are so similar that, they're different at different levels, but man, the problems that we face as humans in our problem solving are just so similar. And that's the thing that I find so interesting about this work is how many of these problems are unique to your organization, but they're just patterns that occur over and over and over again. So learning the structured problem solving approach brings a little bit of, I guess, peace to the chaos. Like, oh, okay, I got this. I can figure this out. I know the structured problem solving approach. So whatever the problem that's coming up, we can feel confident that we have a set of tools to help us get there.
Yeah, I like that. What you said there too is, earlier you mentioned that, some organizations go after a number of belts. That's good if you're going to get the ROI. Start slowly. And then just because you have belts doesn't mean you have to use every single tool every single time to try to fix your problems. Have your structured approach and use what makes sense for the right problem at the right time to get the right results. As you know, being a black belt, the master black belt, there's 150, 170 tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
And so I might just teach 8 some fundamental problem solvings for the frontline people and give them a certificate. Maybe we do some yellow belt and have them do some kaizens and things like that, and have them go get certified through ISSC or ASQ or something. But we've set them up to go do that. We don't certify folks. We utilize those methodologies from those certifying organizations, and we transfer knowledge. And we, like the one group, the last one that we worked on, they were going through the ASQ, body of knowledge as their project. So they didn't want to get certified. They did want to have a lot of belts and black belts eventually. Those were all green belts and leaders. But so I say that because people think there's a lot involved in what we're doing, but if you cut to the chase and do what's right, you can see a lot of results in a very short amount of time if you have a structured approach that's driving to your KPIs and those decisions and things too. So I love that. Yeah, you don't have to boil the ocean,
Yeah, it's interesting. I think if we think about some of the places where people get hung up is I guess it's one of two things that I see are pretty common patterns. One is, you hire some belts and you expect every single project and every single belt to have like huge ROI. And then let's say one of them fails or doesn't go right. And then you just like lose trust or credibility in the whole program. So it's just like any other process that we might look at, like you're going to have some statistical significance to the process. And this is where we have some visibility into some insights that your audience might be interested in. So I'll share a couple of numbers with you.
Okay.
I'm sure every consultant that does Greenbelt training is going to say 100% of my people that get trained are going to deliver 100 ROI, right? I believe that to be true.
Yeah.
What we see in the project management system in KPI Fire, there's a ratio. We looked at this data last year, but there was a 5-3-1 ratio. And what I mean by that is for every 5 ideas for projects that were submitted, like potential projects, like when you do a Greenbelt training and you might say, hey, go find some ideas. So for 5 ideas that were, shared, 3 of those started. 3 of those actually went from idea to active and started a project.
Okay, good.
A lot of those projects were finished. So 2 of the 3 were finished, but only 1 of the 3 had what met the bar for what we would call significant financial improvement. So what that means is that, again, for every 5 ideas that you start with, and different companies land at different places on this. Some companies are very almost like 1 to 1 to 1, because they have kind of like a pre-filtering thing going on where only the high value things make the funnel. But some companies that are more, I guess, trusting in the behavior of continuous improvement, they'll consider an idea like any small thing that can be an improvement, anything that can be a process improvement. So, but that 5-3-1 is an interesting ratio that I've shared with people to help people have a little bit of comfort to, like, okay, not everything that we start is going to finish. And if you know where you're at as an organization, you can focus on improving it, right? Like it's hard to one of the most common goals that we have with customers, clients in that first year is to establish a baseline, because a lot of people don't actually know where they're at in terms of a lot of their metrics.
Yeah. No, they don't. A lot of them don't have metrics. A lot of them don't know how to define. Like I said, the one I was at, Monday, this is the first time they've actually added metrics. And I'm having them do a design scorecard.
Yeah.
Go really deep, and their metrics is 100%. 100% of what? And how do you know you're reaching that with your inputs? And it's like, I need to do this 100% of the time. And I've showed them some stuff with design scorecards with, your upper and lower spec limits, your target, what is your CPK goal, all those kind of things, your capability ratio stuff. And they're just like, this is not how we usually think. And I'm like, yeah, but now you're going to think, and you're going to line that into success metrics and into the revenue generation and growth. Otherwise, if we don't have these things, we don't know where we're going. We're just doing it. That's why you called us in, is because you don't have these things. And they're not hard to do. And I'm taking them through a PDFSS and really making them slow down. And now, Keith, it's taken like 3 sessions. And the last session we did Monday, and I just checked in with them yesterday. Between Monday and yesterday, when I did a little check-in with them, they have just taken off. And they got the ball now, and they're running with it. And the light switch is coming on. And they were really, really happy. And I was praising them, like, you guys they went beyond what I even expected. So it's great. But you got to get that switch to turn on, get them to think out of the box, like this is always the way we've done it. Out of the chaos management. And you see some real success. And start small, like you're saying, and make sure they're making some impact, and we're trying to do that. I think one group started a little bowl of the ocean, and they're like, wait a minute, started thinking of metrics. They were trying to fix the enterprise. Like, no. Let's take this piece. Let's get you trained up. Let's get these mindset and thoughts going the right direction. And it's fun doing this stuff too, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. There's one of the things, because we tend to see a lot of like strategic plans, and there's a framework that in having looked at a lot of these, like balanced scorecard, the Kaplan Nortland, there's a book on balanced scorecard, and there's like 4 perspectives of balanced scorecard. And you don't necessarily have to know everything about balanced scorecard to learn from it. But what I found is some of the best scorecards, they behave like a balanced scorecard in nature, even if you don't, like completely disciplined. But balanced scorecard has like a financial perspective. How much money do we want to make? How much profit do we want to make? That kind of thing. And then there's typically like a customer or a stakeholder perspective. Like, though there's usually a really good set of goals. Like who is our customer? Even if you're talking about a department inside of an organization, like, are you delivering something for a customer? Then there's the internal process. Like, what are the processes in your business, and what are the goals and the metrics that we can set in there? And then the fourth one, which I think Kaplan and Norton tend to call it learning and growth, but I think the thing that I see a lot in that area have to do with capabilities, innovation, and what I would call engagement and skill. And that's where I think a lot of training efforts and training initiatives live, is if you're having problems with your process, process feeds the customer outcomes feeds the financial outcomes, right? So it's that bottom level, that engagement and skill level that feed everything. So different companies will have like a focus at different times on different layers in that balanced scorecard. But those are the four layers that I see most frequently. And if somebody is like not exactly sure what they, like, oh, we need to set some goals, we need to decide some metrics, that's a template that I like to start from and say, if there isn't something already existing, in terms of like a place to start with what metrics to track.
Good. I love that. Yeah, there's all kinds of tools that folks can use. Just make sure you get the right one and for the right reason. And that's why you always start with leadership, what you just said, that balanced scorecard. What's the financials? Who do we need to engage? How are we going to manage this? What are our wins? How do we get momentum? Those are the kind of things that leadership needs to understand, that their role too, on how they're going to, make this transformation. You can't just go, oh, we got a CQI group. You guys, these are our guys that are going to fix it. It doesn't work that way. They need support. They need champions. They need, leadership to knock out some of those roadblocks. So I know you've got something called the 5 frequencies. What is that exactly?
So the 5 frequencies is just a little framework that I like to use specifically when it comes to business reviews. So I tend to, in my brain, one of the levers that we have as managers and leaders is, you can't control every single second of everybody's day. So the things that you can control are basically like these business reviews. And so I tend to think in terms of these 5 frequencies and building rituals around these 5. And the 5, they're really simple. Daily, like, what are the things that I need to do every day? I'm going to shower. I'm going to eat a healthy breakfast. I'm going to work out. I'm going to have my daily stand up. I'm going to go do my Gemba walk, right? Like, it's my daily things.
Right.
What are the things that I'm going to do on a weekly basis? Personally, I'm going to take my trash out to the curb. I'm going to I'm going to go to church on Sunday. Right. I'm going to have I like to call them important, not urgent meetings. It's like a weekly business review, where we review a little bit different level of metrics than the daily.
Right.
Then you've got monthly, right? Like the monthly cadence. If everybody who's ever paid a credit card bill or gotten a bank statement, right? Financials tend to fall into the monthly bucket quite often. Quarterly, you've got your quarterly stuff. Quarterly starts to be more of the strategic stuff. You don't want to be questioning the strategy every day. I mean, right? So on a quarterly basis is where I feel like you start to get into more of the strategic direction stuff. Do we need to change resource allocation? Do we need to, have some capital expense? Do we need to do some bigger decisions? And then, of course, annually, once a year. The thing that I find interesting about this 5 frequency model is how it it kind of fits with just like the some of the I guess I'd describe it as like the natural environment, right? Like the annual, once a year, that's the time that it takes for the Earth to go around the sun, right? Once a year. The quarters, you've got the seasons that change, seasonally. Monthly, the moon around the moon cycles kind of fits into a 28-day cycle technically, but about a month. Daily, right? The Earth rotates on its axis once a day, and the weekly, I'm not exactly sure of the natural weekly cycle, but one thing that I do recall, Stephen Covey had a great quote about the importance of weekly planning being the best time frame to connect the strategically important with the tactically relevant, right? Like a week is an amount of time, we in most the kind of modern work environment has a 4 or 5 day, 6 day, 7 day work cycle. Repeat. So weeks tend to be a pretty good framework. So I like those 5 frequencies when I think about just adjusting business rituals. And sometimes you got a meeting that you're doing every day that you can switch to once a week. Sometimes you can adjust between those frequencies. So I use that as a little model to plan whether it's standard work or business reviews or looking at metrics. And sometimes I'll move something from, okay, we were looking at this thing once a month. We need to look at it more frequently. Or maybe we don't need to look at this metric every day. We can move it up to a once a quarter or once a year kind of metric. So that's a little
I love that
catchy phrase.
Yeah, I love that. The ritual. Yeah. I do that every Friday at the end of the Friday, like, later today. I'll do the kind of what you did at the end of the week. Are we moving in the right direction? Did I meet I have 2 more meetings today. So about 4:00 on Friday afternoon, I'll do that little assessment. And then I'm trying to get out of this behavior. On Sunday, around 5, 6 o'clock, my mind will start thinking, okay, if I'm driving home back or whatever, I start thinking about, okay, tomorrow's Monday. Are we ready to go? Are we set up? And I did last Sunday. This was so bad. I sent someone an email about 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. And it was a summary of something. And Monday morning at like 8:30, she's on the West Coast also. She sent me back an email. This is too much for my first thing Monday. It was at the top of her inbox. And I said, I didn't mean to blow your mind with this. I was doing my brain dump. So call me back Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get out of that behavior. It's my ritual. But I do that on a Friday, which is really just kind of a closure of the week. So I can go into the weekend, So yeah, I love that. So I was going to ask you for a takeaway, a nugget of knowledge for my audience here, but your 5 frequencies is kind of aligns with, what can people take away from this conversation? You have any other nuggets of knowledge they can gather from you today?
I probably have a few of them like that. Another one that I really like applies to business reviews. And I would describe a business review as something, business review, a daily stand-up could be a version of a business review. A weekly leadership meeting, a weekly tier meeting, a weekly tier board meeting, a level 10 meeting, so many different names for this. A monthly financial review. The model for a business review that I love is really simple. I call it the look up, look back, look forward. And the basic idea is the look up represents what's the big picture? What is it that we're trying to do? Let's say I'm, weekly, maybe you do this for yourself personally, right? On Sunday.
Yeah.
What the heck is really important to me?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people, whether you go to church or not, like, if you go to church or if you go to yoga, or if you go to the nature on Sunday, that's a good moment to say, what is it that's really important to me in my life? And the things that I'm going to do in the next 7 days, helping me achieve my goals. Same thing applies in the business sense, right? Hey, once a week, are we on target? Are we hitting our numbers? Do we know what's most important? Anything that we need to look up? Look back. When's the last time we did a business review? Because if we assume that, we did it a week ago, we need to look back a week. Is there anything we need to pick up from that week and pull forward? And then how long is it going to be till we have our next business review? That's the look forward. So that's a really simple model when I'm thinking about, at those 5 frequencies, those 2 things can be used together to help you put together a structure for, I would describe that from tactical daily management system all the way through strategic planning.
Right. You can do that at any level of a business, at any level in your life, even what you just said there. That's
so true.
That's a life plan,
Absolutely.
Someone, young person going to college right now can use that. Middle managers, leaders. What you just said is great for everyone to do that every week. That's really good. It's a really good approach to keep you solid and grounded and moving forward. If you're not moving forward, where are you going?
That's so true. That's one of the things that I find really interesting about this operational excellence discipline continuous improvement is just like us as humans in our personal lives, like
Yeah.
you could go all in, be 100% focused on your career and making money. And meanwhile, you're not paying attention to your family. You're not paying attention to your health.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're out of breath on your way to pick up that award or that bonus check. And you go see the doctor and he says, bad news, fella. You ain't got much time left.
I hear you.
Right.
Yeah. Balance.
Balance is one of those interesting ideas, like like in an organization, you can have a really awesome sales function, but if your operations function isn't working well also, sales is just gonna bury you. You can have a really amazing operations, you could be incredible at getting things done, but if your sales and marketing function isn't healthy, you could have a really awesome sales and marketing and have a really awesome operations, but if you're if your finance, your AR, and your AP, it's gonna all fall apart. It's kind of like having that coronary if you don't have cash flow, right? If you don't have cash flow running through the veins, that's gonna be a problem also.
Yeah, that's one of the first things. That's why I look at organizations holistically. What are the scope? What are the boundaries? And what's happening end to end? Because there's silos, there's lack of communication, there's back and forth. We got to look at everything and see where those opportunities align. Yeah. I love it. Well, awesome, my friend. Thank you. This has been great. This is a fantastic conversation. I hope people who are listening took away some nuggets of knowledge.
There you go.
That ritual, I really like that. I hope some people really take heed to that, out there listening. So how can people get a hold of you, Keith? You want to tell people?
Sure. Yeah, you can find me at kpifire.com on the website. We've got a contact us form. I'm also on LinkedIn, Keith C. Norris, in case there's multiple Keith Norrises, Keith C. Norris with KPI Fire.
Awesome. And you have a podcast called?
Yeah, we've got a podcast called KPI Fireside, where we talk about all things continuous improvement, careers, companies. Got the book there. You can find it on Amazon, the Fire Starter book.
Awesome. Is that on audio yet or no?
I think we do have an audio version of it as well.
When I fly and travel and drive, I like to listen to stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes I read, but I'm more plug in the CD or the tape or stream it.
Yeah.
Let me absorb it, know. Yeah.
Yep.
But everybody's different. I'm one of those kind of learners. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate your time. And go enjoy riding your bike in the mountains of Utah today. Nice day for that. And I want to thank everybody who joined us today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, took away some nuggets of knowledge. My name again is Jeff Gray from Lean Revisions. You can contact us at leanrevisions.com, contact at leanrevisions.com, go to our website, Lean Revisions, and of course, this podcast, The Lean Lounge, available everywhere. And thank you, everyone, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Jeff. See ya.
Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. This podcast is hosted by Jeff Gray, produced and edited by Make Your Day Richer.